Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Little Lit, Strange Stories for Strange Kids, the second volume in the Little Lit series. And this is also edited by Art Spiegelman and Francois Mouly. Once again, we have some world-class creators making kids stories, comics for kids. And we start off with Charles Burns doing this great cover. I love this. There's this cute little monster. Instead of attacking the kid like most monsters do, he's enthralled by the kid's comic book collection and is loving reading all these made-up comic books like Zam and Daffy. I would love to read these comics. I wish there really were mock-ups of these. We start off with these great end papers by Kaz, where he has strange cartoon lessons. And these are kind of like cartoon lessons for kids. And, you know, like draw some stickmen in action. Tricks for the lazy. Bad at drawing legs, put your character behind a desk. Bad at drawing hands, that's what pockets are for. I love this. Drawing a comic strip. A comic strip is a series of drawings that tell a story. But what's the story? I'll tell you what the story is if you join me in the last panel. It's a love story between you and me. The end. How to draw cute characters. Stuff like that. Really fun. I really love this one, though. Some of these you have to turn upside down. This one. Perspective. Things appear larger close up than they do far away. I don't care what you say. That's a huge baby. These are great. I love these. Kaz is a funny guy. So, let's move on. We have a little title page here. And once again, a very well-designed contents page. And we start off with Art Spiegelman once again. The Several Selves of Selby Sheldrake. And we see this kid picking his nose. His mom's like, cut it out. Go to your bedroom until you can learn some manners. But he's like, Mom, I got something really big in there. I got to get it out. She's like, I don't care. So he goes to his bedroom and he sneezes and a doppelganger of himself pops out of his nose. And he says, who are you? He says, I'm boiling mad. I'm beside myself. And then this guy says, I'm mad enough to blow my top. And then his head explodes and another doppelganger comes out. This one's a little piggy. And I just love to pick my snout. And when he does, he kind of sneezes out another doppelganger. And he says, I think I'm going nuts. I'm loony wacko bonkers. And then 3 loony wacko bonkers pop out of his head. Because he's totally out of his head. And then the room is full of all these random versions of Shelby. I'm just dead. So Shelby, the original Shelby, says, I'm getting out of here. And when he runs to find his mom, it seems like his mom has the same thing going on. I'm so overworked. I'm feeling depressed. I'm going nuts. And then he says, Mom, I'm going out to play with the twins next door. I need to be alone for a while. It's a fun story. I like that one. So this is next page is by Martin Hanford. This is the guy who created the Where's Waldo series. So he's pretty much doing the same thing. But this art is way better than Where's Waldo. This is some amazing cartooning. I just love looking at this page. Not to try to find the things you're supposed to find, like in Where's Waldo. It's just a really beautifully colored, beautifully drawn. This is just fun stuff. Just a riot of images and objects. I guess you have to find 11 old socks and 10 aliens and 6 worms. Beautiful stuff. Rudy Hooster and his Sleepless Nights. Next we have the great Maurice Sendak, probably one of the greatest children's book authors of all time. This one's called Serial Baby Keller. And we see this couple, and they've got this kind of horrible little kid who just starts eating everything. He eats the cat. This giant stork comes around, picks the cat out of his mouth. He picks everything he's eaten out of his mouth. But then the baby eats the stork. And then he has this little kind of a dream where the stork pops out of his mouth and flies away with him attached and deposits him in the mouth of this fish. The fish arrives to tell the family, and the baby comes out. And then he eats his mom and his dad. Of course, it's all a dream. What a very strange kids comic. I imagine if you were a little kid reading this, it would be kind of horrifying, especially when he eats his parents. Poor baby Keller, he just can't help it. And so Moy Sendak was pretty old at this point, I imagine. I forgot to tell you guys what year this was. I forgot to mention that. So this came out in 2001, not long after the first little hit. This is really just a nice looking page. It's Richard McGuire, the guy famous for that famous comic story Here. Can You Find? And so it's all split up into a grid. So it has the answers here. And it's like igloo with a shoe, an endless noodle, a floating sombrero. And you have to find all the things. They're very stylized, so they don't pop up immediately. But for example, an endless noodle is the infinity sign. So they're all kind of like clever, fun things like that. I like the floating sombrero. It's just a simple design, but it looks really good. Next we have Barbara McClintock. She's a children's book author. This is called Runaway Shadow. This is a cute little story. This girl one day, her shadow is tired of always having to be kind of chained to her. So the shadow escapes. And at first it's reveling in its freedom. It's like, I could be as small as I want. I can be as long as I want. I love this image of the shadow being all plastic man-y. Tall as I want. She gets a ride to the park on this pigeon. And then she realizes that being a shadow all by yourself, a runaway shadow, has its problems. Like being sat upon while taking a nap at the park bench, or becoming lost in several other shadows. And then she starts missing her, the little girl that she's the shadow of. She says, oh, look, all those shadows, they belong to someone. I'm nothing without Annie. So finally she finds Annie, and she hugs her and says, I'll never leave you again. And they're happy again. Kind of cute little story. Next we have David Sedaris, the great humorist. He wrote this comic, and it's illustrated by Ian Falconer, another children's book illustrator. This one's called Pretty Ugly. This is about this little ogre girl, Anna Van Ogre. And she's good at being an ogre because she does foul things. Basically, ogres are like Bizarro Superman. Whatever is bad is good for them. Like, she stomps on flowers, throws dirt in the house, talks with her mouth full. And that means she's good at being an ogre. But she was bad sometimes, by ogre standards. She'd make terrible faces. She's like, look, Grandmama Bunny. Eee! But that's actually really cute. But to an ogre, that's like, oh no, don't have to be a cute bunny. So, of course, her mother says, you know, one day your face will stick like that if you keep it up. You know, like our parents told us. So one day she made the scariest face of all, and it stuck. So, of course, it's this really cute little girl face. But to the ogres, they think it's horrible. So the doctors can't do anything. All the kids pick on her. And finally, she can't stand it any longer, so she goes and locks herself in the woodshed. And she won't open the door. And she remembers something that her grandmother told her. Beauty is on the inside. Don't forget it. So she says, on the inside? Now I get it. So she reaches into her mouth and pulls out her insides and turns herself inside out and makes herself more beautiful than ever. And the ogre family's like, what a cute kid. That's our girl. That's pretty kind of horrifying. But in ogre, the ogre world, she's quite beautiful. Here's another, this French children's book illustrator named Claude Ponty. The Little House That Ran Away From Home. I gotta say, these drawings are so freaking cute and charming and adorable. I love this art. It looks very old-timey to me. This looks like, I don't know, it's like this could be some guy from the 40s or 50s, some French artist. So we have this little house, Minnie Castle. All of her inhabitants were horrible people. The house was always filled with loud noises and these obnoxious characters. Here we see this great little rogues gallery of creeps. So one day she decides to run away. She just can't take it anymore. Meanwhile, this little dog named Huff is running around. He's a collector of happy sounds. Milk pouring into a bowl, a grandfather snoring, a baby being kissed on the cheek. He collects them. So he has his butterfly net, and we actually see him, scooping up word balloons, or sound balloons, I should say. I kind of like the idea of this. Here he's just grabbing this smooch sound effect. He just grabs the balloon with his hand. So one day he hears sniffing, and it's that sad little house. And Minnie. Huff approaches her. They become fast friends. I guess they were both fans of sweet sounds. And they found a place where they could settle down. It was on the horizon. So they hurried all day to get to that place on the horizon. And they saw these distant plumes of smoke. So they're like, someone's already there. When they get there, it's another dog named Puff, a collector of smoke plumes that rise in the distance. He's actually just holding them in his hands. Huff and Puff quickly fall in love. And then Minnie says, hey, let's get married. So they live in this nice little area, happily ever after, and they have little children. We see little dogs and little houses running around. Kind of in this menage a trois, I guess. Kind of an interesting familial relationship. But just the colors in this, the art, this is just charming as hell. Next we have Jules Feiffer, which I think he's done children's book before, but of course he's way more famous for his cartoons, his comic strip, Feiffer, and also, screenplays, plays. And this is a really interesting strip where you see this kid popping into the panel. And he's like, shh, don't give me away, the superheroes are watching. I'm trapped in a comic book. So this kid is trapped in a comic book and he doesn't like it. Says this is the worst thing that's ever happened. If one of these superheroes ever hit me, I'm going to be bug splatter. So he tells us how it all began. I guess he was visiting a cartoonist in his studio. It was for a school trip. And this cartoonist was like a typical superhero artist. So this kid is kind of lecturing the artist. He's like, I think your comics would be a lot better if you didn't have all these superheroes punching each other. Why don't you have comics about me and my little brother and what a pain in the butt he is and stuff like that? And you can see this guy obviously does not want to hear this. He's just like, so finally the artist says, so would you like to be in a comic book? He says, yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. And he says, if you want to be in a comic book, look very close, closer. And the kid's like, but it's just two super guys fighting. But he says, but if you look close enough, you might even see the magic beyond the superheroes fighting. And as he looks closer and closer, he falls into the comic. I love Jules Feiffer interpreting like a crappy superhero comic. It looks kind of amazing, actually. As it gets closer and closer, the lines just become blurry, fidgety, and weird. Just like an awesome nothing, he describes it. And this looks like amazing abstract art here. So he's trapped in this comic. He has to avoid being in the middle of this melee. If you notice, he's using the Ben-Day dots, Jules Feiffer is this is some really super loose art. Like, I didn't point it out here, but I mean, look, this is really loose. Like, it looks like each panel, this took him like a minute to draw. But it's good stuff. Jules Feiffer knows what he's doing. So even when he's super loose, you can see the good cartooning shining through. So, of course, this kid is in hell. He's just like, I hate superhero comics. I'm trapped in one. Just a bunch of two guys just punching each other, panel after panel. The sound effects are driving him crazy. It's almost like they're assaulting him. And basically he just finds it incredibly boring. It's like, just every day now I have to avoid getting splattered by these, over steroided monsters. He's tired of running. He's he's really hungry because nobody eats here. They don't even go to the bathroom. So someone tell my mother, but I gotta make a run for it. Tell her I love her, and I promise to get out of this. And we see him running off into the void, trying to escape the superheroes. Pretty fun comic. Next we have English cartoonist Posey Simmons with Mr. Frost, and we see these two kids. They're really bummed because they have to go to school. There's a math test. The mother's like, hurry up, you'll be late. And then she gets a phone call. It just says, kids, school's been canceled. There's a freak snowstorm going on. So down in the valley where the school is, it's just covered in snow, but it's still like 70 degrees on this hilltop where they live, and it's beautiful. So it's like the best of both worlds. These kids are so thrilled to like snow day. Just then a big old car comes up. And when the window rolls down, this cold blast of air comes out. And we see this guy, it's Jack Frost. And the kids say, oh yeah, we're really happy about the snow. And Jack Frost perks up, he says, you like the snow? And they're like, yeah, it's great, there's no school. And he says, that makes me so happy. Usually all I hear is griping about how I make the weather terrible. People always gripe about what my creation. But you guys are actually happy about the snow. We see that he's got a pretty short temper, this guy. I like when he sneezes, he makes these beautiful frost flowers on the car. I don't have a lot of any Posey Simmons work. I just read a long article about her in an old comics journal, and I really want to. Her stuff seems pretty good. But she has done kids' books before, but usually her comics are for adults. So he says, would you like anything else? You kids have thrilled me, They're like, would you make it snow all week? Like the same way, so we're warm, and the school is closed, and he's like, sure. So he parks next door. He's basically going to hang out all week. The kids have a great time. After the third or fourth day, though, they start actually missing their friends and missing school. Then it gets worse because they see on the news that, this freakish snowstorm is really causing a lot of grief to a lot of people. So they're like, we got to ask Mr. Frost to stop it. We made a mistake. They find him in the garage of their neighbor. They're on vacation. He's in their freezer chowing down on frozen food. Just their breath makes him go, go away. Your breath is so hot. So they're like, please, please stop the snow. So he's kind of offended. He's like, I thought you wanted the snow. Don't you like it? He's like, if you ever insult me again like this, I'll freeze you right into ice cubes. So the kids are scared. They run away. But they figure out a plan. How to get Mr. Jack Frost out of there. So they go over to Jack Frost again. He's still in the freezer. And the little boy plugs in a blow dryer and starts blasting Jack Frost. And he says, stop. No, I'll leave. So he leaves. And all winter long, they had a mild winter. They were afraid he'd come back and dish out some revenge. But I guess he was scared of that blow dryer, so he never came back. Kind of a cute story. Oh, this is so perfect. Kim Deitch should totally do kids' stories because, I don't know, I just think that the style is very appealing to kids. So we see this guy, his cat's stuck in a tree. He's all bundled up for winter. And this girl happens to be in the tree fort, in the tree that the cat's on. She says, you'll never get him down that way. Come up here. Get him, come out in this branch. And he says, I just don't know about these cats today. And the little girl says, what's wrong with them? And he says, nothing much, but my dad told me the cats he knew were awesome. They even sailed catamarans across all 7 seas. And we see these cats, these cat people, and, back who knows when. I like how their slave galley has little mice rowing. And they're all fishing, these bizarre-looking fish. And then it gets even funner here. And the guy tells the little girl, he says, that's not even half of it. They searched the world with guided by great gaggles of geese. So we see these hot air balloons, driven by geese, powered by geese, and they formed a great city, the great Catropolis. And look at this. You can imagine if you were a little kid, I would stare at this for hours. It's all powered by poor dogs who have to run on this treadmill, like thousands of dogs. But it's this amazing city. It's almost like a giant amusement park city. And then look at this page. So they had this, I guess the Catropolis sunk into the sea. It grew so heavy. But they still figured out a way at the bottom of the sea to put on fantastic shows for all the fish. And look at all this. They're like teaching dolphins how to do things. It looks like the dolphins are teaching the cats too. Poor dogs are still on their treadmills with oxygen helmets on. This is so much fun. Just the fact, though, that dogs are in bondage to cats, I don't like. I'm definitely more of a dog person, so I'm like, oh, this seems like a dystopia. Even though it looks so much fun the way Kim Deitch draws it. This is some world-class fun Kim Deitch art. This is really great stuff. And I guess in time, they learned about rocket science, and they established a colony on the moon, where they fattened all the mice on the green cheese of the moon. I guess to slaughter them. And look, they got a dolphin pilot, so I guess cats and dolphins have an alliance in this world. Another really fun page, just great Kim Deitch art. So then finally they get the cat. And the guy says, thanks, little kid. And the guy goes to his house. You probably figured this out when he takes off his sunglasses. He's one of these cat people. And he comes home to his family, and everyone's a cat person. And, there's the little cat from the tree. They say, I suppose we're not what we once were, but who can say what great things may be in store for these cats today? And we see them all learning about the moon shuttle and Catropolis and all this stuff. And we still see the poor mice slaves who are toiling away, helping with the dinner. It's really fun. Apparently, according to the contributors' notes, this was just a kid's story, like a bedtime story that Kim Deitch made for his kid. One night he just told it to him, and then I guess he remembered it. And when he had to make a kid's comic, he was all ready. He had this idea. Next, we have reprints of Barnaby by Crockett Johnson. I never really read Barnaby. I know it's considered one of the great comic strips of all time. It's always lauded as, in the canon of great comics. I could never get into it. I know this sounds so dumb because it has this weird typeset instead of hand lettering. It always made it like I didn't want to read it when I saw these in like Smithsonian books and stuff. Also, the art's a little just kind of boring to me. But they're kind of cute and kind of fun. And this little kid, Barnaby's got a big imagination. And his mother is telling him about fairy godmothers. So he's like, oh, I want a fairy godmother. But he doesn't get a fairy godmother. He gets a fairy godfather. This weird guy named O'Malley, who instead of a magic wand has a cigar in his mouth. And he's kind of like, he acts almost like some old drunk or something. He's just kind of this seedy old man. But this is a very early strip because I know that he's a major part of this strip, the Fairy Godfather. So I think this is like the origin of how he meets the Fairy Godfather. Of course, the parents don't believe him, but Barnaby finds cigar ash in the carpet of his room on the floor. So we, as the reader, are like, maybe it's not his imagination. The parents keep trying to prove to the kid that he doesn't exist, but the kid is positive he exists. It's so silly that the difference in a not having hand lettering for me. I know it's ridiculous. I know I sound like a moron, but it really makes me not want to read these as much. It's so dumb. So this O'Malley character is he is quite the character. So O'Malley loses his memory. He doesn't even recognize Barnaby. And Barnaby's like, yeah, maybe if you use those pink wings on your back and fly again, maybe your memories will come back. Because he doesn't even remember that he can fly. He's like, I can fly? But it's not working. So there's a bunch of hijinks with him trying to fly and falling. And that's about it. Not, definitely not, maybe not my cup of tea. But maybe I should read more. This is amazing amount of work. This is Louis Trondheim, the great French cartoonist. Amazing adventure. So this comic strip is like a maze. You follow it like a maze and there's dead ends. And it's just this little character like walking around, falling down holes, into the next panel down here. Then you can take a different path like this. You could take this ladder down and go this way, or take this ladder up and go this way. And it took me like, I think I spent 15 minutes reading this page, following every path. And it's really fun. And I just love this incredibly simple cartooning. Louis Trondheim is great. It's so, it's almost like a step above stick figures. And in the contributors' notes, Louis Trondheim says he's never going to do this again. You can imagine it. He said it took him like weeks and weeks to make this. Yeah, it's way too much brain power expended for me. If I was an artist, I'd be like, fuck no. Because just imagine the laying out of this. It all works too. It's pretty amazing. Next we have Mark Rosenthal joke page. Mark Rosenthal was like a pretty prominent illustrator, worked for all the major magazines, but he did do some kids books. So he had already done stuff for kids. This is pretty fun stuff. Just, goofy old jokes. These characters. Once again, this cartooning looks very old-timey to me. And but it's very appealing. Especially when things start getting weird. Like, for some reason, this kid's head starts elongitating. Look at that. It's pretty gruesome. He who laughs last thinks the slowest. I thought that was funny because that's me. I'm pretty bad with jokes. I'm the guy who's like, I don't get it. Could you explain that to me? I love this one where this kid goes to the doctor. There's a little screw in his belly button. And when the doctor takes the screw out, his butt falls off. It's so dumb. But once again, I'm laughing out loud reading it, looking at it. I think this is an old joke. I think I've heard this before, like told as a joke. But there's some groaners in here, like, why did Mr. Jekyll cross the road to get to the other Hyde? Just little kid jokes like that. So I'm sure kids would like this a lot. What do Martians have that no one else can have? Baby Martians. I just really like the layout of this, the logo. It looks like something from a Golden Age comic. Or from the 50s. It looks really nice. This is quite a weird collaboration. So Paul Auster, the great author who did, City of Glass and Smoke, and I think he's written plays. He writes this, and Jacques de Loustal, the great French cartoonist, draws it. This is called The Day I Disappeared. This is weird because it doesn't really even seem like a kid's comic. It's just some weird, almost like maybe existential. Maybe I'm using that word incorrectly like many people do. But it's just, this guy wakes up one morning, he's late for work. He seems a little disorientated. He doesn't see his own image in the mirror. He looks outside to call out for help, and he sees himself walking down the street. He runs downstairs and follows the guy around. Nobody can see him. It's almost like he's become a ghost. Loustal, see here, even draws him all just no color, as if he was a ghost. So he's trying to talk to himself, saying, why aren't you at work? It's 10 o'clock. Oh, it's Saturday. And there's just weird little touches in here. Like the newspaper he's reading, Judge Crater and Amelia Earhart wed. Just these weird little surreal touches. It's like, they both disappeared. So just weird little things like that all tie into the idea of like basically disappearing from life. So then he continues to follow himself out of the city into this beautiful, perfect day in nature. They end up at a lake, and he keeps trying to talk to himself, but the guy can't hear him, of course, because he's a ghost. So finally, the guy takes off all of his clothes except his underwear, and he goes in for a swim. He swims out to the middle of the lake, and then he starts drowning. So the ghost character has no idea how to help him, but he doesn't have time to think, so he just runs in. He's so light, he walks on the water to him. This Loustal art is so simple. I've never seen Loustal draw like this. It looks really nice to me, but it's really stripped down from his normal stuff. But maybe it's perfect for like a kid's comic, So he basically, somehow, he does save himself. I guess he is slightly corporeal for a second, and he can grab himself with his belt, and he brings him to land. He falls asleep. When he wakes up, he's all alone, and his belt is gone. The belt that he used to save the guy, so his pants are falling off. So he decides to go back home. When he gets there, he sees himself in bed, holding the belt. So he started feeling very tired. There was no other bed in the apartment, so he just said, I'll get in bed with myself. He slept in late again, but it was Sunday, so it was fine. He looked around, but he couldn't find his other self. There was just one of me. It was a miracle. I was back together again. The next morning, I woke up at the usual time for work and went to my job at the Bureau of Missing Persons. Just a really evocative, weird little story, especially for a kid's book. I don't know if kids would like this story very much. It would just be like, confuse them, I think. It confused me. But then again, I have the brain of a child. This is really great. This is Strange Picture. And this is by Francois Roca, a French artist who has also done kids' books. And this is it says, one of our strange artists, Francois Roca, has made a picture even stranger than the others in this book. We found at least 22 things in this odd city. 22 odd things in this odd city. How many can you find? So it's not necessarily mistakes, just odd things, but they are kind of mistakes. We see this guy water skiing on a plane, being pulled by a plane. This water tower has just, only one leg. Just really amazing surrealist stuff like this little girl is drawing on this building, which is actually, by the perspective is like 40 feet away. Really neat stuff like that. I love this old dog man reading the newspaper. This is pretty fun stuff to look at. This guy in the billboard, his arm is reaching off and yanking the fire escape metal. This bridge goes to nowhere. Just goes to a little portal in the middle of the sky. Really just great surrealism, basically. And then we have the contributors page. And we get 2 more pages of strange cartoon lessons from Kaz. Some more of these. Sound effects. Add life to your cartoons. See if there's any good one. This was how to draw old bald guys. First draw a hairy guy, erase the hair, give his head a shine, which we learned up here how to make cartoons shine. And the back cover is just a bunch of blurbs and stuff. And the Charles Burns cover. So there you go, guys. Another really fascinating compilation for kids. Little Lit, Strange Stories for Strange Kids. I'm digging these so much. And unfortunately, there's only 3. So, I don't know, in 4 or 5 days, I'll be showing the last one. and then we'll move on to another anthology comic. But I'm really glad I picked these off the shelf. I haven't looked at these probably since 2001, since it came out. I loved it, but, you know, I got shit to read, so I don't got time to reread everything. But thanks to this channel, now I am forced to reread things, and I'm very glad, because what's the point of owning all these great comics if I never reread them and I forget about them? So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you had a good time watching this, and I hope to see you here next time at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.